Hello everybody, this is Abra, and I'm going to give everybody a quick tutorial here on how to create double-sided tokens, as well as high-quality single-sided tokens, because the default single-sided tokens that Tabletop Simulator creates are not very good. The image gets stretched along the edges and it looks very, very bad. So I'm going to show everybody here how to do it, and hopefully you'll be able to use this to create very simple, quick tokens for use in your board games. So the first thing is, in Photoshop or whatever image program you like to use, you need to make sure you've got two images that are the same size. So first of all, we've got side 1 here and we've got side 2, and both of these are 600 by 800 pixels. Okay, so I've saved these as separate PNG images that we're going to be using inside of Blender. Okay, make sure you adjust the contrast of the images. Make sure that they look good. Don't just I mean, if you're scanning or whatever, don't just scan it and throw it in there. Scan it, put it into Photoshop, give it a bit of love before you start creating the tokens. Anyway, so now that we're in Blender, okay, we're going to need to import the image as a plane. So the first thing you're going to need to do is you're going to need to go to File, User Preferences, and then in your Add-ons tab, you can do a quick search if you want for Import, and you'll see this Import Export option, Import Images as Planes. Make sure that's checked, and then save the user settings. Okay, you need to have that option enabled in order to do this. In the default thing, we've got our little cube. Let's just delete that. Okay, we're now going to go to File, Import Images as Planes, and just browse to wherever you saved the image. Okay, so here we've got our token1.png. You'll see it's being displayed as a gray, so we can't actually see it. So what we're going to do is we're going to press the N key, N as in Nancy. We're going to scroll down to where it says Shading, and we're going to select Textured Solid. And then we can press N again to get rid of that. Okay, so now we can see our image. You'll see it's actually reversed down there, but we'll get to fixing that later. Okay, now we need to scale this up. So I'm going to press S, and you can move the mouse in order to scale it up precisely. I'm just going to say S4, and now we've got we've scaled up our token. Again, you're going to have to, depending on what you're creating, you're going to need to scale it up appropriately. All right. I recommend putting everything actually in the same Blender file when you're creating a board game, and that way you can see the relative sizes from one object to another, and that way it's easier to make sure that everything's scaled appropriately when you create everything in one Blender file. So now that we've got our plane here, we're going to go into edit mode, and we're going to select faces down here at the bottom, because we want to be selecting faces at this point, okay, not vertices. So we select our main face. We're going to press E on the keyboard to extrude. E is an elephant. All right, and now we can move our mouse up or down in order to scale it however we want. I'm just going to press 0.2 because that's the thickness I want, and then press Enter. And you can see now this is basically the default token that Tabletop Simulator is going to create for you. And you can see it's got that ugly stretched texture here on the side of the model, which looks very bad. So we're going to fix that. But before we do that, we're first going to select our edges, okay, down here. And again, right-clicking, select that corner edge, hold Shift, and then right-click again in order to select that. Again, you can spin around the model with the middle mouse button if you were unaware of that. Again, hold Shift, select that edge, Shift again and that edge. Okay, and now what we can do is we're going to actually press the 7 key on the number pad, and this puts us into our top perspective mode. All right, then we're going to press the 5 key on the number pad to bring us into orthographic mode. All right, And this way we just see things clearer. Okay, we're not dealing with perspective. This is the actual, image. Now we're going to press Control plus B. B as in boy. Okay, and by doing this, what we're doing is we're actually beveling this model. Okay, so you can bevel it as much as you want. We're gonna put it over here, get it to more or less where you want, and then click. You're gonna left click in this case. All right, and you can see that created a nice little bevel there, but it's a bit jagged, right? So what we're going to do is down here in the bottom left-hand corner, and remember, you have to do this immediately after beveling, okay? Don't deselect anything. You've got your segments, and I always increase this to 3 or 4. 4 is a nice number, okay? And you can see now we've now got 4 segments there, and it's a nice smooth curve. Things look a little bit weird here because we're still in orthographic mode. So I'm going to press 5 on the number key, and that brings us back into our normal user perspective mode. Okay. We can now deselect these by pressing A. Okay. And you see we've got a nice token here. Okay. I mean, as far as 3D modeling is concerned, I mean, we're done at this point. Okay. But you may notice a problem. We've still only got, first of all, we've got the one side image on there, and it's reversed. Okay, so the whole thing is, we've still got some work to do here. So what we're going to do now is we need to, first, let's actually fix the shading. This is something that's important. You'll notice sometimes when you load up a mod, you'll see everything is solid, uses solid shading, and so you'll see kind of these jagged edges along corners like this, and we don't want that, right? We want to remove those jagged edges, and it's not as apparent in Blender, but when you load it up in Tabletop Simulator, you'll definitely see the difference. Okay, so what we're going to do, so again, we're going to select our faces, and we're going to click A. A is an apple on the keyboard to select all the faces. We're going to go up here to shading and UVs, and then for faces, we're going to select smooth. Okay, and you'll notice that kind of changed the way things look a bit here. All right, but now we can't leave it like this because then it's going to attempt to smooth shade everything, and we do actually need a solid edge in the areas where it's a 90-degree angle or whatever. So we're going to go back into object mode. Okay, down here in the bottom left, select the object, and now in the top right hand corner there's this little wrench icon called modifiers. Or sorry, no, not that one. I'm crazy. Not the wrench icon. You want this little triangle option here. Okay, and it's titled data, object data. I'm not sure. Anyways, when you select it, you'll have the auto smooth option here. This is what we want. Okay, select auto smooth, check double sided, and then for the angle, this angle represents all the different angles of your model. Okay, wherever there's an intersection between two faces, and whatever that angle is, if that angle is less than whatever you specify here, it's going to try and make that a smooth a transition as possible. It's going to try and pretend it's a sphere of sorts. Okay, but we don't want that on our hard edge between between the kind of the top of the model and the side of the model. So we can reduce this down. Anything below 90 is really fine, but we'll say 60 degrees. Press enter, and now you can see how that changed the shading. And now we've got a nice, clear cut edge along the side here. But when you look in the corners, it's nice and smooth. Okay, and that's very important. Okay, it'll give you a nice degree of professionalism to your models when you do that. Okay, now we're going to fix the stretching on the sides of this. Okay, so what we're going to do is first we're going to go in the top right hand corner and we're going to grab. Actually, I think we're going to fix the shading on the sides last. Okay, we'll fix the edges. We're gonna add the second side here. Okay. Well, Okay, no, sorry. I'm gonna go back because I was thinking if we're doing a single-sided token, I want to make sure you guys know how to do that as well. Okay, so first let's create this single-sided token. So we're gonna grab this corner here with the left mouse button and pull it out, and that will give us two windows. Okay, in the bottom left-hand corner, we're gonna select this little square button and go to UV Image Editor. Okay, and you can see now, if we go back and we select our object in this window, we go to edit mode. Okay, we can now zoom out with our mouse wheel. All right, and you'll see basically this is the UV that it's taking. It's taking our image of the token, and it's applied the UV map to it. Okay, but the second side is wrong. So all we do is we select the face of that object. Okay, and then down here, it's hard to see, but you need to select this button here, keep UV and edit mode mesh in sync. And this means that anything I select in the one window will automatically select in the other one. Okay, so when you're selecting a face on this side, it'll select it on that. So all we do is we select the face on the bottom side, which is incorrect. We move our mouse into the UV image editor so that it knows we're dealing with the UV image editor. Now we press Control plus M for mirror. Okay, so we go Control M to mirror, and then it's saying select a mirror axis, X or Y. In this case, we want X because we're going to mirror it on the X side, and then we press Enter. And you'll see nothing really looks like it changed in the UV image editor, but it did. And because you can now clearly see that our UV is now applied correctly on the bottom. It's not reversed, right? So we've got side one, okay? And now, in order to fix the image stretching on the sides, all we do is we select any of these faces, we hold the Alt key, and we right-click on any of the other faces. And what that does is it'll automatically select every face around that loop. Okay, so it's created those. Now on the keyboard you press the U key. U is an umbrella. Okay, and I always just do a smart UV project. Click OK with the defaults, doesn't matter. We're actually going to be scaling this down as much as we can. And then I always do U again, and then I select follow active quads with all those selected, and then click OK. Now we've got, it already looks much better, but it's still going to be stretched, and it's still going to look, questionable. So what I always do is in the UV image editor now, I click the S key to scale it, and I just scale it all the way down. Right? I'm going to scroll in. Okay. I'm holding Shift sorry, no, you just middle mouse click to move around again. Okay, so I go in there and then I click S again, and then I scale it down even further. Okay, so now we've got this tiny little thing here. All right, and then you can press the G key to move these around. And so I like to move it onto kind of a single color, right? Because the idea is we want it to basically all be the same color. So put it there, that seems fine. Click A to deselect everything. Okay, we're zooming out, and now you can see over here we have our perfectly formed token. Okay, and it's now we now on the sides of it we now no longer have any stretching. It looks perfect. There's no issue. Okay, now the last thing left is, first of all, we're going to save it. Okay, so I'm going to save this. Okay. And we're going to go, what was it? Tutorial, here we go. Tutorial. Yeah, I've now saved this Blender file. Okay, I've got my token, it's all done. But the last thing we need to do before we export it, if you export it right now, Tabletop Simulator will not see the top or the bottom faces because they're not triangulated. Okay, you need to, it's not a quad or a triangle, this top face, it's some strange shape. And so we need to make sure that Tabletop Simulator is able to load this properly. So all you do is you click with faces, again you go into edit mode, faces selected, click A, and now Control T to triangulate. Okay, I always do this kind of as the last step, because when you're editing things, it's much easier to do it, editing the UVs, etc., etc. When you've got your proper faces, I suppose, right? Instead of these triangulated ones. Now we go into our object mode. We select it. Okay, File, Export, Wavefront, OBJ. Okay, and now I'm going to say it as a one-sided token. All right, we're going to select selection only down here in the bottom left, and we do not need materials, so we're going to uncheck that and then export. And that's it for one-sided tokens. All right, now you simply load up the Tabletop Simulator. You can import the OBJ file and apply the exact same texture that you used to create this originally. Okay. Now though, we're going to move on from this, and we're going to create two-sided tokens. We're going to change this into a two-sided token. So first of all, I'm going to actually just reload my old file before I triangulated, because it's going to be easier. Okay. And now what we're going to do is we're going to do things a little bit differently, because what we want is we're going to have two separate images, but we want them in the same UV map. So we're not going to use we're going to use a normal default square texture and not these rectangular images. So first of all, now that we've created it and we know it's the exact, the dimensions are correct, we can just use our A key again to select all the faces. All right, and because we've got this checked, it selects everything over there. And now what we want to do is we want to click this little X button to unlink data block. Okay, down here in the UV section. So we're going to get rid of that, and now we're back to it defaults to kind of a square texture. Okay, so now in order to we need to create our our new UV layout for this. Okay, so the good news is for tokens that's going to be used in Tabletop Simulator, this is really, really easy. All we do is you select the top face. Okay, you press the 7 key on the number pad like we did before, and then you press the 5 key again to go into orthographic view. This is very, very important. Okay, now once you've done that, okay, you can go or actually, you know what we're going to do is we're going to select, sorry, not just the top side. You select the top side and the bottom side. So shift right click to select the bottom face as well. Sorry about that, folks. All right, so we've got both of those selected. Again, go to your top orthographic view. Okay, press the U key for our UV mapping section here, and now we're going to use project from view. So this is going to create a projection of these in our UV map. Okay, now it looks like there's only one, but there are two of them. They're just one right on top of the other. So what we need to do now is we need to pack them, if you will. So with both of those selected, okay, we haven't done anything. We just move our mouse over into the UV section, and we press Control P for pack. All right, and you'll see now it is created this image here. All right, this layout here. Okay, I'm not a huge fan of this, so I'm actually going to press Control P again, and it's just gonna it'll rearrange them as it sees fit. If you want, you can grab them. In this case, what I think I'm going to do is I'm actually going to modify this on my own, because I want them both vertically. You could just rotate it and put it in there, but I'm not a big fan of that. So I'm just gonna sorry, I didn't explain what I did there. You can select it by right clicking on the UV, press the G key, and then you can just move it over. Okay, in this case I'm gonna select this one, and I'm going to press the R key to rotate, and I'm going to select 90 degrees, right? So R90, and then that created that. Okay. We can now scale these up slightly to try and get as much. We want to use as much space as we can. It doesn't matter if they're exactly the same size. You kind of want them to be, though. Shoot, hold up. I'm going to use Control Z. Okay. All right, so let's go to scale S 1.2. And then there S 1.2. Just make them exactly the same, and that was a terrible number. So S 0.9. All right. S 0.9. Okay, not the best. There's a better way to do this, I'm sure. Okay, I'm just being lazy at this point. Okay, but they're there. Everything's fine. Okay, we can now select these faces again. Alt that. We've got them down here. Okay, but in these types of UV maps, I always press G and I move them up here. You know, I can scale them up a bit. Okay, I'm gonna actually R90 that. So if you want to create a more detailed side image for whatever reason, you can do that here. Okay. Now we've got our nice little UV layout. Okay. I'm going to select everything again with A, and now go UVs, export UV layout. I'm going to call this one UV layout. Okay. And now we can set the size of this. I always set fill opacity, set that to 0. Okay, we don't want any fill whatsoever. 1024 by 1024. I mean, that's fine, I suppose, but we're probably going to be changing that once we determine what the best size is. Okay, so we've got that. We'll export this out. Actually, you know what? I'm going to change this to 2000 by 2000 because I already know it's way too small. Okay, so we're going to export this, and what that does is it creates a nice little PNG image of our UV layout. So now we're going to hop back into Photoshop and we'll open it up. Okay, so here it is. It's probably very difficult to see, so I'm going to create a quick background here. Whoops, no, that was supposed to be red. There we go. All right. So hopefully you can now see these lines, okay, indicating our our UV map. So what we're going to do, we're going to go back to our token. Okay. I'm going to take our side one, copy that, and then we can paste it in here. All right. So we can see here clearly we're too small. All right, this image here, if you line it up perfectly, it's much easier. So 600, so it should be, roughly 1200, but because we've got our space in the middle, I'm gonna say 1300 wide. Okay. All right, just resized it so that it's roughly the appropriate size for our maps here. And you can see that now lines up much better. Okay, so I'm going to adjust it here. Zooming in. Okay, I'm going to scale this up a little bit. Holding Shift and dragging this to make sure that the ratio stays the same. Okay. All right, and that looks good. So I'm going to apply that transformation. We're going to grab side 2, copy that. All right, zoom back out here, paste it in, move it to the appropriate spot. Okay. And normally I would have spent more time on this, making these you know, as close together as possible, but I'm just trying to, you know, for the sake of this tutorial, I'm trying to save everybody time while I fiddle with that. And then again, holding shift, drag that corner out, apply the transformation. Okay. And now I need to kind of select what color do I want the side of everything to be. Well, I'm going to want it to be a blue. So I can just select whatever color I want. I'm going to pick that blue, and I'm just going to change this background layer to blue. Okay. We now uncheck this part, all right, the layer 0 section, because we don't want those lines anywhere on this texture. We save it as, I'm going to save it as a PNG because, you know, it's kind of how I roll. All right, and we'll save this as tutorial.png. Okay, so we now have our texture, no problem. All right, we go back into Blender. All right, and in our UV section, again, we click A to select everything, and now down here we select Open and select the newly created image. Okay. Zoom out here, and you can see now, oh, we've actually got side 2 on the top, but that's fine. That makes no difference. All right, and you'll notice down here, side 1 is reversed, but we know how to deal with this, right? We just select the face, we move over here, and we can go Control M, X, hit Enter. All right, Control M to mirror, remember, and problem solved. Okay, so we now have our finished side 1, side 2. You'll notice actually in this case, we've got side 2 on the top section here, and side 1 is, you know, it's actually reversed, right? So we don't want that either. We want both sides to be kind of on the same side of the token. So we're going to select this as well. And now we're going to rotate it 180 degrees in order to flip this side of the, you know, make sure that this side, they're both on the same side here. Okay, so we go R180, and that rotates the entire texture around. Okay, 180 degrees. So you've got side 1 and side 2. All right, now everything's done. We save it again. We go into our object, not object mode, edit. We're still in edit mode. We select all the faces with A. We triangulate it again with Control T. Okay. Go back into object mode. All right. Select the object, and we're going to export it now. Okay. And we'll, again, selection only. We're not going to write materials. We're going to call this two-sided token. And export it out. Now, let's load up Tabletop Simulator, and we'll be able to take a look at our results here. Oops, we got some inception going on there. All right, so we've now got our tutorial here, two-sided token, and I'll take the one-sided token as well and grab this. And I'm just going to copy these. Or actually, I guess I suppose I should just copy these images first. And I'm going to put them into my Tabletop Simulator folder. Again, normally you would upload these to a website or a Dropbox or however you're planning on sharing them. For the purposes of this tutorial, I'm going to put them directly into the folders. All right. Okay, so I've got one-sided token, two-sided token, and then token 1 and tutorial. So now let's load up Tabletop Simulator. Okay, I'll get a table here. All right, now we're just going to import them going into our chest, custom, model. And our model was called 1 One-sided, I exported one-sided token, right? One underscore sided token. Wow, I just looked at it. There we go. All right, one-sided token. Okay, normally here you would put the entire link, okay? For these types of tokens, because they're square, don't use a collider, just use the default collision and it's fine, okay? Because it will automatically create, you know, a cube collision box there. And now for the diffuse image, we're going to call this token1.png, which is what we created, okay? We'll leave it as generic so the people can alt over it. Material, I always select wood. I find it to be much, much nicer than plastic. And now we simply import it. And you can see here, we now have our token. This is our single-sided token. Okay. And now let's import another one. Okay. Again, we'll select wood. I like the sounds that wood makes as well compared to plastic. But that's just a personal preference thing. I believe this was two-sided token.obj, and the image I think was tutorial that we called it. I don't know why I didn't name these things the same thing, right? We'll also leave it as generic so we can alt over it and import it. Close this out. Rotate around. We've got side 2 and side 1. All right, and you can see here how nice and smooth the edges here are. All right, remember how we used that auto smooth technique? All right, that's why these turned out so nicely. Okay, and that is how you create single and double-sided tokens. Okay, I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. Make sure you subscribe to all my mods that are on the workshop. Okay, and have fun creating your games in Tabletop Simulator. Take care.